Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today, as you can tell from the title, I am going to be walking you through what you need in order to create a smooth, flawless, and most importantly, concealed under eye area. Something that's gonna look great in pictures, it's gonna look great up close, and something that's really gonna last all day long. So let's get straight into it. So first things first, the first product that you're absolutely going to need, and if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you already know this, you're gonna need a color corrector, something that's gonna neutralize your under eye darkness, because if you don't do that, if you do not color correct, there is just no product that is going to conceal your dark circles enough to where you can only use it by itself. The only one that perhaps might be able to do that is the new one from Natasha Denona, because I found that formula to be very, very, very high in coverage. But depending on the severity, you probably are going to need a color corrector before you apply anything if you truly want to conceal your dark circles. Personally, I have a handful that I really love and that I grab all the time. As you guys know, the Smashbox and Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. I love this thing. I used the original formula for a really long time when it was just Becca, but now that the product falls underneath the Smashbox umbrella, they did change the formula just slightly, but I really like the fact that they added a few extra shades, because before it was either this or something really light and like pinky, which, you know, with just those two correctors or brightening correctors, it's not going to cover everybody. It's not going to suit everyone. So I'm really happy that Smashbox expanded the shade range, because the formula, although it's slightly different, it's only slightly different, but it works really, really well underneath my matte concealers. So I always reach for this one. I also always reach for my Sigma corrector. This one's the Spectrum Color Correcting Duo in the shade medium to dark. As you can see, it gets a lot of love. I love the fact that you get two different shades in this formula. It's pretty hydrating. I would say they're similar, not the same, but these two are definitely similar as far as like consistency and how much they neutralize the under eye darkness. Now, another alternative to the Smashbox corrector is the Beauty Pie corrector. Now, this one, I believe they only shipped to the UK and to the US, I think. Hopefully they expand on that, but this one is, I don't want to call it exactly the same as the Smashbox and Becca corrector, but I mean almost exactly the same. They wear the same, they feel the same, they look the same, they act the same. I mean, the shade is slightly different. Like this one is the Beauty Pie and this one is the Becca. So it's slightly different, but they get the job done and they do it well. Unfortunately, I haven't really found too many color correctors from the drugstore that I love, but these just recently launched the e.l.f. Color correctors. I believe they have a ton of these. I think they have a yellow, a blue, a white, a black even, and then they have these two for color correcting dark circles. I personally mix them in order to get a better shade. They work really well, not as hydrating as the other two or the other three that I just mentioned, but it does wear really, really light underneath the eyes, and it's a good alternative from the drugstore. As far as the tools that I like to use for the under eye area, there are three: either a blending brush, this guy, the Deluxe Crease Brush from Real Techniques, or this triangular powder puff from Amazon. I find that I get the most out of the least amount of product if I use any of those three tools to blend the under eye area. Now, as far as brushes, it's either, like I said, going to be the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush. This one you can find in a trio. Sometimes they come in a pack of 4 different brushes. But if you're looking for something that's strictly for concealer, strictly for the under eye area, and you only have to buy one brush, that's this one from Real Techniques. This is their Expert Concealer Brush. It works very much in the same way. They're just shaped differently. One is more flat. It's wide but flat, whereas the other one is just kind of round all the way around. So you have more surface area with the Deluxe Crease Brush than you do with the Expert Concealer Brush, but they're both really good. As far as the blending brushes that I like to use for the under eye area, any blending brush will do, especially if it's more of a tapered blending brush than a flat one, and I'll show you the difference. So for me personally, I like something like this guy. See how it's like tapered along the top? And this one is more flat along the top. I don't love these for blending out the concealers, but I really like something like this. And as far as the powder puff, I really love it because these, you see the point here? You can really get into the under eye in the inner corner. That's usually a spot that I have a hard time, or I used to have a hard time getting and like blending concealer in there. But now it's so much easier when I use this one. I also really love to set the under eye area with these powder puffs. And you get like a pack of, I want to say like 12, like 10 or 12. I don't know. The pack has a lot. So I'm going to use my two top correctors underneath the eyes so that you can see exactly what they each look like. So over here we have the Smashbox and Becca, the under eye brightening corrector. And over here, I'm using my Sigma corrector. And I like to mix both of the shades together. What I would do next is apply foundation, especially if it's liquid foundation. If it's powder foundation, I would leave that all the way to the end. But since I'm using liquid foundation for today, I'm gonna jump off camera, apply foundation onto the entire face, skipping the under eye area. I never apply foundation under the eyes, and I'll come back for the rest. All right, we're done with foundation. Let's move on to concealer. Now, when it comes to concealer, you want, if you're trying to truly conceal your under eye darkness, you want to choose a shade that's closest to your foundation, something that's closest to your natural skin tone, something that matches. Because if you grab something that's a little bit too light, your under eye area is going to look gray. I made a video about that. I'll link it here, right here, so that you guys can see, because it does truly make a difference. A color corrector and a good shade of a concealer is going to give you full coverage. Now, I really love this formula from Huda Beauty. This is her Faux Filter Concealer. I've loved it ever since I've reviewed it, and I've never had an issue with it. It looks great, especially on top of my Smashbox and Becca corrector. It has a luminous matte finish, so it is a matte finish that doesn't look matte. It's pretty radiant, but it's very flexible. So it's a matte finish formula that's not going to go anywhere, but it's still gonna allow your skin to, you know, move with it instead of cracking along your fine lines or just settling and looking gross after a few hours. This one doesn't do that. It stays put. And like I said, it just moves with your skin. One that I just recently reviewed that I am like really impressed with and that I really like is this one from Natasha Denona. This one is her High Glam Concealer. I have it in the shade P4. These formulas are pretty identical. They're matte, but they're luminous, so they're not gonna look excessively dry, but they are going to stay in place. So I'm gonna start with the left side. I'm switching things up today. I usually start with my right side, but I'm starting with my left side. And the concealer shade that I use in the Faux Filter formula is Sugar Biscuit, which is 3.5N. Here, I may as well just swatch them for you guys. So here they are side by side. This is the Natasha Denona, and this one is the Huda Beauty. As you can see, the Huda Beauty does have a neutral undertone, and this one is a bit more on the warm side. So I'm going to start off with the Faux Filter Concealer over here on the left side. And my favorite tool for the under eye area lately is this little powder puff. So I'm just gonna go in and blend it out. You see the amount of coverage that this gives? My goodness, is it full. And I like to keep my concealers a little further down. I'll drag some of the product up to the lash line, but I like to keep it a little bit further down. It just lessens the amount of product that ends up in my fine lines, which is going to lessen the amount of settling that occurs there. And on the right side, I'm doing the Natasha Denona concealer. And this one I'm gonna blend out with a brush so that you guys can see the difference. And I like the brush method for the same reason that I like the powder puff method. It just fits right into the corner and it blends everything out without absorbing too much of the product. All right, now that we're done with that, we need to set very lightly. Since we didn't use a whole lot of product and because of the finishes on these concealers, we don't really need to set them very heavy, but I always opt for setting them because I just feel like my under eye area tends to look a lot smoother, a lot more even when I set them. And the setting powder that I can honestly say that I cannot live without. Okay, my favorite, all-time favorite setting powder has been this one from Oma Beauty. This is their Trip and Smooth powder in the shade Light. Not only do I think the packaging is insanely unique, because it has like this little round donut that loosens a little bit. It allows for some of the product to land in here, and then you tighten it and it only leaves you with a specific amount of product. So it's perfect for travel. You don't have to worry about the spilling everywhere, because if you tighten it, it's not going to allow any of the product to come out. But here, I'll show you. When you loosen it, and I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this, but just in case you haven't, when you loosen it and you close it back up, I don't know if you guys saw that, but some of the product came out. So you loosen it and the donut goes up. It allows some of the product to seep through the bottom, and then you lock it up, donut goes down, and now your product is safely contained within the donut once again. Hopefully that makes sense. I thought that that was a very unique thing as far as the packaging. Now, for setting the under eye area, sometimes I'll do a brush, but my preferred method lately has been with the little triangular powder puff. So I just take a little bit of what's on the lid with the powder puff, and it leaves me with the smallest amount of powder. We don't need to bake. I mean, I guess you could if you really wanted to, but I typically don't. I just apply a very, very light layer, and it leaves the most smooth looking under eye area. Now I know what you're thinking. Yeah, it's concealed, it looks good, but Sarah, I want to highlight. That's why I was using the lighter shades. That's why I wasn't using something that's closest to my foundation shade. I want the under eye area to look highlighted, even though I've got dark circles. I've got you covered, okay? I've got you covered. Now, I have been waiting for this to restock, and it finally did, and I ordered it the second that it did, and I've not looked back, okay? This is from Hola Beauty. I swear, she's got some of the most amazing products. This is her Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder in the shade Cherry Blossom. Now, we are not going to be baking with this, okay? Not even a little bit. Personally, I don't like it. I feel like the under eye area just looks and feels a lot more dry, and I just don't like it. But I do want the under eye area to look a little bit highlighted, just like, you know, coming at you rather than my hollow going away from you, sinking in. This is what the powder looks like. As you can see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up quite well enough. Let me bring you in. It's a pink loose powder. It's a pink powder. So I always just take a little bit of the powder and I just, you know, swirl it around the lid. Now, one thing with this powder that I personally do not mind, because I actually really like what it smells like, but if you're, you know, sensitive to scents, this might, like, you may be able to smell this, maybe not. It's very, very, it's there. It has a scent. It has a pretty strong scent, but I don't really notice it once I've set the under eye area. You just notice it like when you open up the lid. Anyway, I grabbed this with a brush. This one is my Soft Blend number 60 brush from Sigma Beauty. And then I just apply it underneath the eyes. And I do a little at a time. I don't want to overdo it, or I don't want to do more than what I need. And just go back and forth with it until I feel like it's bright enough. Okay, now that the under eye area is a bit brighter, I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup, and then I'm going to show you what I do at the end. I'm going to show you the makeup up close and under natural lighting. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Everything looks so much different, so much better once you're completely done with your makeup. It's kind of like one of those trust the process type of things. Now, I always set, whenever I do this underneath the eyes, I always have to set everything in place, because I don't want anything to look excessively powdery, or like it doesn't like melt into my skin, you know, or it's not like combining together in the way that I wanted to. I have 3 setting sprays that I love to rotate through. The first one being the Stay Spray from Tarte. I really love setting the face with this. I also really like the Make It Last from Milani if you're looking for a drugstore option. Now this one is floral scented, but it's like a limited edition thing. They sell the Make It Last, like the original formula, and it's the same as this. This one just happens to have the scent, and that's the one I've been using lately. One of my all-time favorites, though, is from Hourglass. This is their Veil Soft Focus Setting Spray. I love this because I feel like it doesn't just set the makeup, but it kind of like refreshes everything. It just makes everything look a little bit more like skin, and it has this very beautiful fine mist, okay? Like this one, yeah, it sprays. This one, I like the Make It Last mist because it is, you know, kind of fine, but this one, it's so fine. It's so fine. So I do a few sprays of this before calling it done. Now we're done. All right, now that we're done, I can zoom you in, give you a close-up of what this looks like underneath the eyes, and of course, under natural lighting as well. So this is the under eye area now that I'm all done. Of course, it doesn't look natural, right? Because we're not wearing natural looking makeup. This definitely is a full glam, like full coverage look. But look at the under eye area. Look at this. This combination is the Sigma and Natasha Denona combination. And this one is the Smashbox Becca and the Huda Beauty combination. All right, and here we are under natural lighting. Now, the Huda Beauty powder, the brightening powder, it's not going to make your under eye area look so bright that you're gonna get flashback. That's not it at all. This one truly just color corrects a little bit and adds a little bit of brightness, but without overdoing it underneath the eyes. And that's why I love it so much. That's why I've been using it nonstop since I received it, because you can't really tell that I'm wearing like a brightening powder, but the under eye area does look a little bit brighter, a little bit more color corrected. And I just love it. I love the way that it sets the under eye area and the way that it looks all day long. So that completes today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly hope that you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. All those things really do go a long way here on YouTube, and they really help my channel out. So I appreciate anything that you guys leave as far as comments. Likes, of course, are always greatly appreciated. It doesn't just help my channel on YouTube, but it also lets me know that I'm doing a good job and that you guys are liking and enjoying the content that I am posting here on my channel. So thank you all so much. As always, take care, and I will see you all in my next video. Mwah! Bye.